Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. With I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports. It is Sunday, April 5th. Busting the slump yesterday, man. We went 2-0 on the show yesterday. I'm happy about that. We had the win with the college basketball crown game. Pretty easy win with Oklahoma. Earlier in the afternoon, Oklahoma led pretty much the whole game. It got a little bit close. I mean, it got really close in the second half, but this is what I said, man. Like, when you have a team coming off of an overtime game, they're used to the pressure, so they know what to do. Like, they can handle the close game after they just did it. So that gave Oklahoma an advantage, I think, when the game got close. And they were able to pull away again, win the game by double digits. Again, they pretty much led the whole game, so it was a good win there. And then Cincinnati Reds got the win as well. I think they won the whole game as well. First 5 came through as well. Rocker wasn't as bad as I thought he would be. Rhett Lauder did what he was supposed to do. I mean, he didn't give up any runs, so I'm happy about that. He wasn't exactly great, but held Texas scoreless, so I'm happy about that. So we got the win there. We move on to today. I'm going to have 2 plays today, both in Major League Baseball, and I'm skipping everything else. Yeah, I'm skipping the NBA again, man. It's just how it is. I don't like what I see in the NBA, man. Just end of the season, it's very difficult to figure out find actual good spots in the NBA. All right, let's get to Major League Baseball here, man. First game up is part of a doubleheader with the Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. They got rained out yesterday, so we're gonna go. I'm gonna talk about both games of the doubleheader right away here. Now, the pitching matchup that I talked about yesterday when I broke this game down, those 2 pitchers are not going to face each other now. They're pitching in the separate games now today, so they've been split up. Got to keep them separated, man. Edward Cabrera, Slade Ciccone are pitching in the first game. Ciccone was supposed to pitch yesterday. Edward Cabrera was going to be slated to pitch today's game. Now, as far as Cubs, Cleveland is concerned, looking at the bullpen situation, Cubs neither team used anybody yesterday, right? Because obviously the game's rained out yesterday. So what am I even looking at here? So we have rested bullpens coming into this one. Again, it's more difficult to figure out what's going to happen in the second game because you don't know what the bullpen usage is going to be in the first game yet. Although sometimes, you can look towards first 5 inning plays in that second game without worrying about what the bullpens are going to look like. In this game, looking at what these teams do, I think Chicago, you got to give them a hitting edge here. Cleveland has had the better bullpen so far this year, and I'm not really going to disagree with them just having generally the better bullpen right now. So I think that is the situation right now. So that is how we'll start breaking this matchup down here. Edward Cabrera for the Cubs, he's good, man. I like him. He had a 6-inning, 1-hit shutout in his first outing against Anaheim. 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's pretty good. His numbers against Cleveland are pretty good as well. In 26 at-bats, 269 batting average, 641 OPS, 7-3 strikeout walk ratio. So I like Cabrera. I think he's a good pitcher. He's got a good matchup here for the most part. Slade Ciccone, probably a bit more of a questionable pitcher. He wasn't good in his first outing. Gave up 6 earned runs at Seattle at a pitcher-friendly ballpark. 3 walks in the mix there as well. Didn't make it 5 innings. That's not good. Chicago is not very familiar with him, though. The Cubs, they're 0 for 7 off him lifetime. No strikeouts, 1 walk. So maybe he has a little bit of an advantage because when these young pitchers haven't been seen before by the opposing hitters, sometimes they do have a little bit of an advantage here. I kind of like Chicago in this game, though. I think Edward Cabrera is the more proven pitcher. He's more trustworthy. The Cubs did lose the first game of the series already, so they could be a little bit more focused and in bounce-back mode here. So I don't mind the Cubs in this first game. I leaned towards the Cubs yesterday with Imanaga on the mound, even though I think he's probably better than Cabrera. I think still the Cubs get the lean for me in this one. They're at minus 128 now on the money line, up from minus 108. 88% of the tickets, though, 93% of the cash. So it looks like the Cubs are a little bit public, but the money looks like it's coming in on them as well. As far as the second game in the series, Imanaga was supposed to pitch yesterday. He will pitch the later game. He didn't do well in his first outing, particularly. He gave up 4 earned runs against Washington. Washington, not a very good team, but Imanaga, he has enough of a track record at this point that I think we can kind of ignore that start. And it wasn't even really that bad. He had 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. That's not bad. Went 5 innings. First start of the season, a lot of times you can just completely ignore it anyway because pitchers are having to get their bearings again to start the season. His numbers against Cleveland, you kind of wish they were a little bit better, though. 27 at-bats, 259 batting average allowed. That's not that bad, but 767 OPS is a little bit high. 3 strikeouts isn't really that much, and 1 walk. But yeah, I mean, I think I still prefer Imanaga here over who's he going up? Where are we looking? Actually, maybe not. Parker Messick is pitching for Cleveland. What am I saying here? I'm way out of it this morning, man. Parker Messick is a pretty talented young pitcher for Cleveland. Got his career off on the right foot in the majors last year. Looked pretty good for the most part. And he started this year with really an excellent start at the Dodgers. The Dodgers, the best offense in baseball, in my opinion, and they're particularly good at home. And Messick somehow won the game against them and shut them out for 6 innings. 5 strikeouts, 5 hits allowed, no walks. Really good outing from Messick there. Cubs, only 1 hitter has ever faced him before, Bregman. I think Bregman faced him when he pitched against the Red Sox last year when Bregman was still on the Red Sox. Bregman was 1 for 3 off him with a double, but I think Messick does actually have an advantage here over the Cubs hitters because he's a talented young pitcher. Hasn't been seen before by them, so scratch what I just said a little while ago. I like both starting pitchers here, so my opinion in this game would be to look towards under in the first 5 innings. I mean, if you want to wait, because this game's not until 10 p.m., I guess, that's not right. There's no way. Pre-game has that wrong. Yeah, it's 4:40 p.m. There's no way. Because there's only one night game on Sundays. You know, it's a Peacock night game now, not ESPN anymore. Because Sunday's getaway day, so all afternoon games pretty much, so that the teams could travel to their next destination. So you could wait, though, until you see what happens in the first game if you want to look full game in this one and try to get the under 7.5 and hope that the bullpens don't get used that much in the first game. Or you could just fire on it right now. Under in the first 5 innings would be my opinion there. But you're probably looking at about a 3, maybe 3.5 in the first 5 innings. But I do like that starting pitching matchup for both starting pitchers there. All right, the next game up is going to be one of my plays here. Let's do it, man. And we're going to be on a team that is looking for a sweep here. A lot of times I look to fade the team that's looking for the sweep because a lot of times the other team will go all out to try to avoid the sweep and bounce back and whatever, but I don't like the matchup for them. We're going to go with Pittsburgh again, man. We're going to go with the Pirates. I know I wasn't high on the Pirates to start the season. I thought they were getting overhyped a bit, but I'm just looking at these specific matchups, man. And you got to admit the Pirates do have some pretty talented young pitchers in their rotation here, and Skeens is the one that gets all the publicity, but some of these other guys are actually not that bad. Now, yeah, Pittsburgh is looking for a sweep here. They won the first 2 games of the series. They've won 4 games in a row. So, yeah, you could argue that Baltimore's going to bounce back here, but I don't know if Pittsburgh's really going to be looking ahead to San Diego. San Diego off to kind of a mediocre start. Doesn't really look like that much of a look ahead to me. Baltimore used 4 relief pitchers yesterday, so it's not like their bullpen is in the greatest of shape here. Pittsburgh only used 3. I actually think Pittsburgh has the slightly better bullpen, at least if you're looking at the start of the season here. Pittsburgh's bullpen has been better than Baltimore's to start the season. Neither of them have been great, but Pittsburgh's kind of in the mid-tier. Baltimore's sort of in the bottom third, a little bit worse. And then as far as offense is concerned, both of them are kind of middle of the pack. Pittsburgh's actually tied in 10th based on overall OPS, so Pittsburgh has actually had the slightly better offense, believe it or not, as well. Then we look at the starting pitching matchup here. Chris Bassett is pitching for the Orioles, and I know his numbers looked pretty good last year, but I've talked about how I just don't really fully buy into him, man. Like, his overall career numbers are fine, but, like, his whip over the last 2 seasons with Toronto was a 1.46 and 1.33. That's too high, in my opinion. Like, he puts too many guys on base. And the other thing that is not good about Bassett, if you look at his splits last year, he was way worse on the road. His home ERA last year was 2.71. Road ERA 5.47. So he was really bad on the road. This is his first road start of the season. His first home start was not good, and it was against a pretty mediocre Texas lineup. He went 4 1/3, walked 4 guys, gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits, 3 strikeouts. He really struggled in that game against Texas, was very inefficient with his pitches, threw 100 pitches. So I don't like how this sets up for Bassett. And it gets worse because the Pirates have 83 career at-bats off him. They have a 373 batting average lifetime off him and a 1,037 OPS. That's some really bad stuff there. 28 strikeouts, 7 walks. That's a good ratio. But other than that, these Pirates hitters have really, really laid into Chris Bassett, man. So I think the matchup looks pretty bad for him. Meanwhile, Braxton Ashcraft is on the hill for the Pirates here. Not over the hill, on the hill. He was decent in his first start. I mean, he probably wasn't as good as he looked against Cincinnati. It is impressive, though, that he went into a hitter-friendly ballpark, went 6 innings, was pretty efficient with 87 pitches, held Cincinnati 2 earned runs. Cincinnati's an okay offense. The only concern is that he walked 4 guys. But sometimes the nerves in that first game of the season can kind of have you pitching a little bit shaky, so I'm not as worried by that as maybe I would be otherwise. Ashcraft is a pretty talented young pitcher, man. Like, if you look at what he did last year in his first season with Pittsburgh, it was a mix between being a relief pitcher and being a starter. His whip was in the 1.2s, which isn't terrible. His ERA was below 3. I mean, it probably should have been in the 3s based on his whip, but still, he had more strikeouts than innings pitched. His strikeout walk ratio was pretty good at 3. That's not bad. So I think Ashcraft is actually good. I think he's a pretty talented young pitcher, man. And against the Orioles, they only have 9 at-bats against him, so they're not terribly familiar with him. And they're only 2 for 9 off him. And yeah, Jackson does have a home run off him, but 222 batting average allowed overall, 1,030 OPS. I'm going to kind of ignore a little bit just because that's being skewed by the fact that he's given up a home run and a double to Alonso in that very small sample size. 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, but he's the less familiar pitcher, and I actually give him the nod over Chris Bassett here, man. I think the matchup is better for him because he's not that familiar. I think he's the more talented pitcher at this point in their careers. He's younger. He's got way more upside. We pretty much know what we're going to get out of Chris Bassett, and he doesn't pitch well on the road. So, and as far as Ashcraft, he was decent both home and away. He was slightly worse at home last year, so I will say that, but it was not like he didn't have like a huge home road dichotomy or anything like that. His ERA was like 3 at home. So that's what we're going with. We're gonna go with the Pirates in this game to get the sweep. And if we look at look at the market here, wherever the hell. What are we looking at here? Ashcraft, where are you? There it is. Pirates, look at they are taking the money. They're up from -115 to -125. 55% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on them. So the money seems to agree. That's where we're going. Let's get back on track with the baseball, man. We've been very mediocre in baseball to start the season. I think we're about 500 with baseball. We might be slightly at a loss. Got the win yesterday. Let's do it again today, man. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. Next game up is Dodgers at Washington. I mean, the Dodgers are just the better team, man. I mean, they're the way better offense. They're the better bullpen. I know Washington's looked okay to start the season. I really don't think they're that good. And the Dodgers have really wrecked them in the series. The Dodgers have outscored them 23-11 in the series. So it's been a very high-scoring series. Dodgers scoring at least 10 runs in both games. Now, you could make the argument that the Dodgers might just overlook them at this point. And the Dodgers do have a World Series repeat, or whatever you want, a World Series rematch, let's say, up next, starting tomorrow against the Blue Jays. So that's pretty interesting. It's probably a bigger deal for the Blue Jays, though. Blue Jays going to be looking for some revenge, probably looking ahead there. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to be looking as much ahead here, but I don't want to fade the Dodgers anyway here, man. I mean, they're just too good compared to Washington for me to really want to do it. But I don't want to play the Dodgers either here in a spot like this. Now, as far as the matchup is concerned, yeah, I think the Dodgers do have the advantage pretty much across the board. Although, you got to admit, Sasaki is pitching for the Dodgers. He is one of their shakier pitchers. We could say that. He was decent in his opener against Cleveland. They didn't want him to go that deep into the game. They let him go 4 innings. He didn't throw that many pitches. 1 run allowed, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. So Dodgers look like they're kind of ramping him up a little bit, but he might have a little bit of an advantage here because the Nationals have never faced him before. So that might give him a little bit of an edge in this game. He's going to be going up against Foster Griffin, who I don't know what we're doing with Foster Griffin, man. I don't. He's 30 years old. Before he made one start this year, he hadn't pitched since 2022. He'd made no starts in his major league career. I mean, I think he's kind of just a body that, like, Washington just needs a guy in the rotation. I mean, his career numbers are not good with an ERA in the 5s, 1.3 whip. He actually did have a pretty good start against Philadelphia in his start this season, though, so I will give him that. That's pretty impressive. Philadelphia's a pretty tough offense to go up against. It was at Philly as well, and he went 5 innings, gave up only 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, no walks. So you got to hand it to Griffin for that, man. Dodgers aren't very familiar with him either. Only Ohtani has ever faced him before, and he's 0 for 1 against him with a strikeout. So Griffin might actually have a little bit of an edge there, being unfamiliar. You know, as insane as it might, sound in this game, I think you could make an argument for a first 5-inning under in this game. I don't want to do it. It seems dangerous, but both pitchers might have a little bit of an edge early in this game because they're both unfamiliar to the opposing hitters. I still don't fully trust either of these pitchers, really, especially not Griffin. So that would worry me. But we do have 76% of the tickets and 68% of the cash on the over for the full game, which is sitting at 9. So the first 5 is probably at about 4, 4.5, whatever. 86% of the tickets and 91% of the cash on the Dodgers for what that's worth. They dropped from -220 to -201. I do think the price is a little bit high. I don't know if Sasaki really should be favored by that much on the road against anybody. So I don't really see much value actually trying to lay the price with the Dodgers or anything like that. So I would be more focused on maybe trying to figure out that total there, but I don't want to deal with it at all. As far as the bullpens, the Dodgers used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Washington also used 3, but Washington's bullpen is considerably worse. The Dodgers bullpen wasn't great last year. They're still maybe not that great, but they did add, I believe they picked up a closer at least coming into this season, so may not even need to use him against Washington, though. Miami at the Yankees. Yankees on the verge of a sweep here. I mean, Miami's not that good, man. Miami came into this series at a 5-1 record, but that was because they played the Rockies and the White Sox. The Yankees are way better than those two teams. Don't really think the Yankees are going to be looking ahead to the A's. That's not really a big matchup up next, but it is possible they take Miami lightly, although Miami almost beat them yesterday. This pitching matchup looks really, really bad for Miami to me, although maybe if you look into the matchup numbers, maybe it's not as bad as you would think. Miami, by the way, they have started the season really hot. They've been the second best offense, and they've been top 7 in bullpen whip so far, which is really ridiculous. But again, I think those numbers are being skewed by the fact they face really weak opponents, so it's really difficult to look into these numbers too much. The Yankees actually have had really good bullpen pitching so far this season as well. And we know the Yankees offense is really good, so I'm not buying into Miami. I guess you could potentially make the argument that Miami does have a better bullpen than the Yankees do. I don't even know if I want to make that argument, but I think we have to admit that the Yankees hitting is obviously better than Miami's. Yankees used a lot of their bullpen yesterday, though. They used 6 guys out of their bullpen yesterday, so that's not great. Miami used 5. So bullpens are not in great shape coming into this one. Chris Paddock is pitching for Miami. I am not a fan of his at all. He got absolutely shelled in his opener. Gave up 2 home runs, 8 earned runs on 8 hits to the White Sox. Probably you could say he got a little bit unlucky, though, because he did have 6 strikeouts and no walks. So he really wasn't putting a ton of guys on base necessarily. Like, his control was okay, but he was just way too hittable. Yeah, he got kind of unlucky that everybody he put on base scored, but you still can't put 8 guys on base in 4 innings, man. You just can't do it. So I'm not sold on Paddock, but his numbers are actually good against the Yankees, believe it or not. In 63 at-bats, 17 strikeouts, 3 walks, 175 batting average allowed, 593 OPS. So, interestingly, Paddock, this is not the worst matchup for him, which is insane to think about because you have to still give the edge to Max Fried as the starting pitcher, though. Fried hasn't even given up a run yet this season, although he pitched in 2 pitcher-friendly parks so far against San Francisco and Seattle. Still pretty impressive, though. 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, no runs allowed so far, very few hits allowed so far. He's off and running, man. Yankee Stadium is a little bit more, it is significantly more hitter-friendly than those parks, but he's not going to do bad in this game, dude. I would be shocked if he did. He's pretty much dominated Miami as well. Like, you talk about Chris Paddock having good numbers against the Yankees. Yeah, well, Max Fried in 38 at-bats against the Marlins, 132 batting average allowed, 307 OPS. Those numbers are insanely low. Only 8 strikeouts, though, so he hasn't really blown them away with the strikeout and 2 walks, but still, Fried has very much dominated these Miami hitters. You're probably laying too much of a price if you want the Yankees, though. They're at minus 277. If you wanted to do something like go Miami under their team total, you could take a shot with that maybe. I don't know if we trust the Yankees bullpen, though. You could get really granular with it and go Miami first 5 innings under their team total and specifically just go with Fried to do really well against them. So you could do something like that. You're going to need him to hold them to about 2 runs over that span, but maybe it'll happen. 92% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the Yankees. They're too public, man, and at minus 277, I don't really think you could lay that price with the Yankees. I'm just trying to find any way to attack this game at all, First 5 inning under in general actually kind of makes sense to me based on those matchup numbers I just showed you. It's just I really don't trust Paddock enough, but I wouldn't really disagree with the under in the first 5 in that game. 84% of the tickets and 84% of the cash on the over, so the over is drawing public money. It always does in a game with the Yankees. Even with Max Fried on the mound, the over is still going to wind up getting public attention. So that's how I break that game down. San Diego at my Boston Red Sox. They've split the first 2 games of the series. Red Sox, kind of I'm not happy about it. The Red Sox lost yesterday by 1 run. They better get this game, man. Based off of the starting pitching matchup, the Red Sox should win this game, but I'm not going to be putting my money on this one. As far as the bullpen, San Diego does have the better bullpen. They were one of the best in baseball last year. They're still really good this year, and their numbers bear that out already this year. San Diego's offense has really been the shocker, though. Their offense has been the worst in baseball so far. And I know they play in a pitcher-friendly park and whatever, but it's still very shocking that with the amount of talent they have in their lineup that they've been this bad offensively. I don't think they're this bad. Now, last year they were pretty mediocre offensively, and a lot of that does have to do with the stadium that they play in. But we're in a hitter-friendly park here, man, in Boston, so you got to expect at some point there's going to be some offense potentially coming here. Maybe not necessarily with the starting pitching matchup, though. The Red Sox, I mean, they're kind of middle of the road offensively so far this year. Their bullpen has been a bit above average, I guess I would say, over the course of the season so far. So San Diego has had the better bullpen so far. The Red Sox have had the better offense so far this season, and maybe that'll continue to be the case. Starting pitching, Walker Buehler is pitching for the Padres here. He's a guy, I mean, he's just never been able to right the ship since he's had his Tommy John surgery. He's had, like, a few seasons now where he's just never been able to get back to what he once was. The Red Sox, of course, did have him briefly. I'm not a fan, man. I don't think he's that good. His first start this year wasn't particularly good. At home in a pitcher-friendly park against San Francisco, he allowed 300 runs in 4 innings, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. Really nothing to write home about at all there. He's done pretty well against the Red Sox, though. Only 4 of the Red Sox hitters have ever faced him before, although one of them is Sonny Gray, so you could throw that out. He's not going to be in the Red Sox lineup. 54 at-bats here, 15-2 strikeout walk ratio is actually really impressive. 185 batting average allowed, very low, and 585 OPS. Really, the only thing is that he's allowed a lot of power from these Red Sox hitters that have seen him. Contreras and Story have combined for 3 home runs off him. So the Red Sox have been able to power hit against him at the very least. But I also don't trust Buehler. I know he has decent numbers against the Red Sox hitters, but I don't trust him. Ranger Suarez, I think, is the more trustworthy of the pitchers at this point. I would kind of ignore what his numbers look like right now. He had a rough opening start against Houston. Houston's offense has been lighting up the scoreboard this season, man. I don't know what it is, but their offense has been one of the best in all of baseball, which is pretty crazy because their offense isn't really that stacked. He still had decent command in that start, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. He just got really tagged by the power hitting. He have 2 home runs. Still managed to hold Houston to 4 earned runs. I mean, it could have been worse, I guess. But I think Suarez, based on what we've seen out of him the last couple seasons, I think he's going to bounce back. I actually think his style of pitching is actually good for pitching in Fenway because he actually he's not really a fly ball pitcher. So I don't mind that. Against San Diego, his numbers have been pretty good. In 76 at-bats, 18-5 strikeout walk ratio, 237 average allowed, 600 OPS. They have a lot of experience against him, but he's done pretty well against them in the past, and they're not hitting well right now. The money appears to be backing the Red Sox here. They're up to minus 150, 81% of tickets, 96% of the cash on the Red Sox. I kind of agree with it. I don't want to do anything with the game. The total is kind of ridiculously high at 9. I mean, to me, that seems a little bit too high almost at 9. But I know we're dealing with a hitter-friendly park here. We're dealing with a couple of pitchers that, you know, you could consider maybe both of them to be untrustworthy. But I don't know, man. I think Suarez will have a bounce back here. So I think my preference in this game would be the Red Sox side in this one. The Red Sox, they're not as bad as their record looks so far. So, and could be bounce back time for them here. Looking at the bullpens, though, like the bullpen usage, let me see. The Red Sox did use a decent amount of their bullpen yesterday, though. They used 5 relief pitchers. San Diego only used 3. So, you know, if you wanted to limit it to first 5 innings with the Red Sox, that might make sense as well. You might have to look towards like a run line, though. Ask him to be winning at the end of the first 5 innings, like go minus a half run there. That might be the better approach here, actually. I'm not going to play the game, though. But I'm just, you know, giving my opinion, my breakdown on all the games. All right, next game up is Milwaukee and Kansas City. Now, these two teams played a doubleheader yesterday, so remember that the bullpen usage is going to be pretty high after that. Milwaukee used most of their bullpen over that span of 2 games yesterday. They used 5 relief pitchers. Going up against Kansas City here. Kansas City also used 5, so I would probably want to fade the bullpens today. Even though Milwaukee's bullpen has actually been good to start the season, the Royals' bullpen, despite what they did last year, has not been very good to start the season. So I think you got to give the bullpen edge right now with the way these bullpens have looked so far. You got to give that edge to Milwaukee if you want to factor in the bullpens at all in what you're doing here. Milwaukee's got the better offense as well. I don't think that's really in question. Starting pitching, Kyle Harrison is going for Milwaukee. I think he's good, man. Maybe a mistake that the Red Sox got rid of him right after they got him. I've liked Harrison. I think he has some pretty decent potential, and he looked good in his first start. He held Tampa Bay to 1 earned run in 5 innings, 8 strikeouts and 1 walk. That's pretty solid. 4 hits allowed. Tampa, not a very good offense, though. But neither is Kansas City's. Kansas City, mediocre numbers against him. Only 11 at-bats. Only 3 of their hitters have ever seen him before. So you can't really read too much into this small sample size. He's got 2 strikeouts, 1 walk against him, a 273 average. 879 OPS is a little high because India has a home run off him. Jonathan India, man, he needs to go up against Kumar Rocker and have the all-Indian matchup at the plate there. But overall, yes, I think I think he is in line for another decent start here. That would be my opinion. I know we're looking at a Kauffman Stadium with the walls brought in here, but if you look at the totals so far in the stadium, the games have gone 3-2 to the under so far. So 3 unders and 2 overs so far. So do with that information what you want to, I guess. Chris Bubich is pitching for Kansas City. Had a good season last year. Had a decent start. Well, I would say a good start to open the season. It was against a pretty bad Minnesota team, but he held them to 2 hits in 6 innings, 1 earned run. The walks were a little bit of an issue. 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Overall, I do think Bubich is at least fine, although I think he kind of overperformed a little bit last year. Against Milwaukee, he has really good numbers, though, 33 at-bats. It's not the biggest sample size, but it's pretty big. 11 strikeouts, 2 walks, 121 average allowed, 293 OPS. That's very, very good. So against a pretty good lineup like the Brewers, Bubich has done really well against them. So my opinion in this game is first 5 inning under. That would be the way I would play this game. This one doesn't quite make the cut for me, but I do like it. Totals at 8 for the full game, 62% of tickets, 63% of the cash on the under. So a little bit of the money indicating on the under. The number has gone down a little bit. It's headed towards 7.5 here on the full game. I don't want to deal with the bullpens, though, after they pitched 2 games yesterday. So I'm a little bit leery of it because you got to go first 5 innings under, in my opinion, here if you want to play the under. I mean, you could try to take the shot with the full game and just try to deal with the bullpens and hope both starters get you probably through 6 innings in the game. And you could do that. I think it's a little bit riskier, but if you go first 5 inning under, you're probably looking at 3.5, but that is still probably, I think, the best way to play this. The money is also coming in on the Royals for what it's worth. They're at minus 122, 56% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the Royals. I don't really disagree with it. I mean, I do think Bubich, looking at those matchup numbers that we just looked at, I think he does have a little bit of the upper hand here. And you got to admit he is the more proven pitcher, although I do like Harrison as well. So, you know, Bubich could outduel him, but then you got to deal with the bullpens. I think if I went Kansas City, I'd probably go first 5 innings with that too, because I don't really like the way their bullpen has looked so far, and especially when their bullpen's not rested. I don't really trust it. So, although Milwaukee's is also unrested. These teams have split the series so far, by the way. They split the 2 games of the doubleheader yesterday, for what that's worth. All right. Tampa Bay at Minnesota. This game, and these teams, I think they both have pretty weak offenses, man. I don't like Minnesota's bullpen at all. Minnesota, 5 relief pitchers used yesterday. That's not great either. Tampa only used 2. I think you got to give Tampa a bullpen edge here, even though if you look at the way Tampa's bullpen has pitched so far, they've been the worst bullpen in baseball to start the season, which is kind of ridiculous because I think the talent that they have in that bullpen, they're not going to be the worst bullpen like when the season is over, man. I'm pretty confident in saying that. But they haven't been good to start the season. Minnesota has not really been good either, though, but that's expected because their bullpen is actually pretty bad. The hitting, Tampa has actually had a good offense so far. They are probably the better offense here, even though I consider both offenses to be kind of weak, but Tampa's been the better offense so far to start the season. Nick Martinez is pitching for Tampa Bay. Don't know if I really trust him fully. He had a pretty good start in his opener against a good Milwaukee lineup, though. A Milwaukee lineup that was familiar with him, too, because he was in their division with the Reds. 3 strikeouts, no walks in that outing. Not a lot of strikeouts, but didn't put anybody on base via the free pass. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 earned runs, only threw 88 pitches. He was pretty efficient there. His numbers against Minnesota are mediocre and 40 at-bats. Really good 13-1 strikeout-walk ratio, but he has allowed 3 home runs to them, although 2 of them are from Buxton. So Buxton specifically does hit him pretty well. So again, if you want a player prop potential there, hits plus runs plus RBIs, Buxton does pretty well in this matchup. 250 batting average overall. Martinez is allowed to Minnesota's hitters an 818 OPS. So you could do with that information what you want. He's been mediocre against them. Simeon Woods Richardson is going for the Twins here. He was decent in his opener against the Royals. Gave up 2 earned runs in 5 innings, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's been a decent pitcher in his career so far. Still pretty young. He's not really a strikeout guy, but he goes in there. He gives you decent starts for the most part. His numbers against Tampa Bay are decent in 19 at-bats, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 263 average allowed, but 826 OPS is a little bit high. A lot of it is because he's allowed a couple of doubles and a home run to Mullins. But overall, yeah, it's a really hard game to gauge because both pitchers have mediocre numbers. So it's like, what do you do with that? They're not good or bad, you know what I mean? So it basically makes the game a complete stay away from me. Dude, where is Tampa Bay here? What are we looking at here? The money is coming in on Minnesota pretty strongly, so the market read is really indicating on Minnesota, so do with that information what you want. 59% of the tickets on Tampa, 88% of the cash on Minnesota. So the money is indicating on the Twins side there. These teams have split the series so far, with Tampa winning in a blowout yesterday. So you could argue, I guess, maybe Minnesota would bounce back here. You know, I think it's really, really a toss-up in this game. I do think there's a lot more room for Tampa to improve on the bullpen side of things, though. And, you know, Tampa, I think, does have a bullpen edge here based on the rest that their bullpen has. So if I was going to go with Minnesota, I might limit it to the first 5 innings. But even that, I just don't see a huge advantage there if there is any for Woods Richardson. I mean, he's the younger pitcher, so I guess maybe there's a little bit more upside there if that's the argument. But I don't know. Toronto at Chicago. I mentioned Toronto might be looking ahead to their huge series with the Dodgers up next. The problem with that thinking is they're on the verge of getting swept by the White Sox here, man. So I think Toronto is not going to overlook this game. Now, I'd think completely differently about it if Toronto had won both games in the series. I'd think, yeah, they might be overlooking the White Sox and looking ahead, but Toronto being the better team and having lost both games in the series inexplicably, I don't see them overlooking this game. So I think you can kind of throw away the look-ahead part of this where, yes, that series against the Dodgers is going to be really big for Toronto. Now, if you do like Toronto here, a little bit of an issue that their bullpen was pretty used yesterday. They used 5 relief pitchers. The White Sox bullpen is not good, and they also used 5, though. Toronto's bullpen still a little bit more used yesterday, although White Sox have been one of the worst bullpens in baseball to start the season. I think they are a pretty bad bullpen, legitimately. The Blue Jays have been in the bottom third as well, though, but I think the Blue Jays should improve a little bit on the bullpen side of things. The Blue Jays definitely have the better offense out of the two teams, although they haven't been excellent to start the season, but they have still been better than the White Sox, and I think that will continue to be the case. Eric Lauer is pitching for Toronto. He had a really good season last year. I think he's a good pitcher, and he started out this season with a good start against the A's. 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, very impressive in 5 1/3 innings. Little bit of a high pitch count there with 87 pitches in that span. Gave up 2 earned runs, only 3 hits. Still, he was impressive in that start anyway. Going up against the White Sox, he actually doesn't have great numbers, though, in 17 at-bats. It's a small sample. 5 strikeouts, no walks, but he's allowed a 294 batting average and 824 OPS. So he hasn't really done that well against the White Sox in his career. So that's maybe a little bit of a concern there. Davis Martin is pitching for Chicago. He's not really very good. He had an okay start in his opener against Miami. Held him to 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 5 hits allowed in 5 innings. Got a win in that game, I think, too. So that was the only win against Miami until they ran into the Yankees. His numbers against Toronto, very small sample size, 7 at-bats, but they're not good. 1 strikeout, 2 walks, 429 average allowed, 1,127 OPS. So Martin, it's a small sample size, so you can't really read that much into it, but the Blue Jays have been able to hit him. I think the Blue Jays kind of trying to find a way to play the Blue Jays kind of makes sense to me in this one. Trying to avoid the sweep as the better team. They're up to -160 here on the money line, though, which is a bit pricey. You could go money line on the Blue Jays if you wanted to. I think they will win, but 95% of the tickets, 98% of the cash on the Blue Jays. Money seemingly coming in a little bit on the over, and the total hasn't really moved much off of that 8. If you wanted to go with the Blue Jays over their team total, maybe that's a better approach there for the Blue Jays to just get some runs here off of the combination of Martin plus the White Sox bullpen. The Blue Jays should be able to put up runs in that game with that pitching, with the pitching that the White Sox are putting out there. So maybe that is the best approach, would be Toronto over their team total. That might make the most sense in that one. Next game up is going to be my other play, and we are going to a total in this one. And I found a really good number on it, man. I don't know if you can find this number still available out here. But we are going to go first 5 innings under in Cincinnati and Texas. I found under 4 at -110 at I think I kind of got lucky with it. It was what book was it at? I think it was at the book I want to say it was at the book that starts with an M and ends with another M and has a G in the middle. That book, I think, was throwing that number out there. The numbers are all over the place, too, with these totals. A lot of times the books, they just, they don't come totally in line with these totals. Let me see what the best number is right now. On the first 5 total here. That book still has that number available, believe it or not, even though some of the other books have under 4 at a much heavier price. You can find under 3.5 at an underdog price if you really want to do that. But I might even pay to go under the 4, though. In the first 5 innings, every half run does kind of matter because, you don't have to – the tie doesn't have to be broken in the first 5 innings. You know what I mean? The game, of course, can be tied at the end of 5. So – but I like the under here, man. If you want to go full game under, you could do that too. But I worry a little bit about the bullpens here. Cincinnati only used 3 relief pitchers yesterday, so maybe it's not that much of a concern. Texas used 4. Texas, the bullpens have just been a little bit iffy so far. Well, actually, Texas has been good. Actually, I don't know, man. If you want to go full game, you could do that here. Texas, top 6 in bullpen whip so far this season is Cincinnati. Not much worse at 13th, so that's not too bad, actually. So, yeah, if you wanted to go full game under, you could do that as well here. We're looking at a pretty pitcher-friendly park in Texas here. What are we looking at here? Let me see. You know what? I wonder should I switch this to full game just because there are more options here? Let me see. If I do that, it's going to lose, though. I'm going to stick with mine in the first 5 innings, but, if you want to go full game, you could definitely do that. You'd be looking at under 8 at a high price, so you'd probably be having to go under 7.5, though. So I think the 4 was just a little bit better value there on the first 5 innings. So we see the money coming in on the under here, 55% of tickets, 71% of the cash on the under. The money is coming in on Texas a little bit for what it's worth, although they dropped from -130 to -118. 86% of the tickets, 95% of the cash on Texas. So the money is coming in on Texas to some extent, but I like the under in this one, man. We're looking at what I think is a really good starting pitching matchup. Chase Burns is pitching for the Reds. I think jump on this guy to make good starts before he's totally, out from under the radar. because he's good, dude. He's coming off a one-hit, 5-inning performance, no runs allowed against Pittsburgh. He got a little bit wild. He walked 3 guys, 7 strikeouts, though. He's a really hard thrower. He gets a lot of strikeouts. I think he's a legit pitcher, man. Like, I think before too long, people are going to know who he is. He only threw 78 pitches in that start, too, so he didn't throw that many pitches. That's a good sign. All of that is a pretty good sign, except he was a little bit wild. But he's also pretty much completely unfamiliar to Texas. Only Danny Jansen has ever faced him before. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout off him. So Burns is pretty much completely unfamiliar to the opposing hitters here, and I think he's an excellent pitcher. So I like that aspect of it. He's going up against Jack Leiter, who I think has a lot of upside still. Leiter has really good stuff still as well. It hasn't really panned out yet in his career, but he definitely improved last year, dude. He had more of a complete season last year, and his numbers overall wound up being pretty good. It's just that he walked too many guys, so he's got to get that under control. But I think he could do well here, man. His first start was good. He threw 92 pitches, which is a bit, but he held Baltimore to 2 earned runs in 6 innings, had 8 strikeouts and 1 walk, 5 hits allowed. So that was a very good performance from him. So that's a good sign. I think he looks like he's in good form right now. The Reds only have 13 at-bats off him, and they have 5 strikeouts, no walks, 231 average, and 538 OPS off him. So Leiter has done pretty well against the Reds in a very limited sample size. So I think both starting pitchers look to match up pretty well in this game here, man. So under first 5 innings is my play there. Again, full game, I wouldn't disagree with full game either in that one on the under. The bullpens, the bullpens are not like that taxed, and they're not horrible bullpens. Texas I think, is going to be very good again this year. So I don't hate that. And again, it is a pitcher-friendly park as well. So that's where we're going with that one. All right. Speaking of pitcher-friendly parks, these next 2 are not at all. Philadelphia at Colorado. Philadelphia on the verge of a sweep here. They've outscored Colorado 12-2 in the series. Colorado not even able to hit in their hitter-friendly park, man. Philadelphia, I mean, maybe they might be looking ahead to San Francisco at this point, but San Francisco's not off to a good start either, so I don't know if Philadelphia's really going to be looking ahead or not, but I think the side is a bit hard to gauge in this one. Looking at the matchup, though, I think you got to give Philadelphia pretty much the edge everywhere here. I think they do have a slightly better bullpen, even though I don't think either bullpen is good. I think Philly does have the better offense. I think there's no question about that. Bullpen usage, Colorado used 5 relief pitchers yesterday, so that's not great. Philadelphia used only 3, so Philadelphia's bullpen is in better shape at the very least, but I still don't trust either bullpen, and I don't trust these starters either. Taijuan Walker is pitching for Philadelphia. He's not good. His first start was pretty awful against Washington. 4 2/3. He gave up 10 hits, 6 earned runs. Had more walks than strikeouts. Had to throw 99 pitches. 3 walks, living up to his name there. 2 strikeouts. That's not good at all. His numbers against the Rockies are fairly good, though, in 36 at-bats. 6-4 strikeout walk ratio is not good, but 222 batting average allowed, 633 OPS. Those are fine numbers, but I still don't expect Walker to do much in this game, really. He's going up against Sugano, who was on Baltimore last year, which I think was his first year in Major League Baseball. And he had a decent start to kick off this season. Not even going 5 innings, though. But I think they might have just been keeping his pitch count a bit low there. He went 4 2/3, only allowed 1 earned run against Toronto. That's not bad. 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. And that was the Toronto team that was familiar with him from last year, too. But this is going to be his first start ever in Coors Field, I'm pretty sure. So I don't think that's a good sign. I guess we could look to see if he did pitch there last year. Let me see. No, he faced Colorado in Baltimore last year. So, yeah, this is going to be his first start in Coors Field. So that could be pretty questionable, man. He's not used to pitching in this high elevation here. That might be bad. Philly has basically never faced him before, though. Only Garcia has ever seen him before. He's 1 for 3 with a strikeout off him. I wouldn't weigh that too much, though. I know both pitchers look like they have decent matchup numbers here, but I would not want to be looking towards an under in this one, man. I really wouldn't. To be honest, I think an over might make more sense here. The number is really high at 11, but it's high for a reason. 87% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the over, but taking into account the untrustworthiness of both these starters and the bullpens not being very good, I think you could see a lot of runs in this one. Philly is down from -170 to -165 on the money line for what that's worth. 86% of tickets, 96% of the cash on Philly. I think Philly is too heavy of a favorite. Like, I would not want to lay the price with Philly. Taijuan Walker, this guy shouldn't be favored by this much against anybody on the road, in my opinion. So I would stay away from, I don't want anything to do with the side in that game at all. But perhaps Colorado will finally break out of their hitting slump. Maybe the slump will discontinue for them in that game, and maybe you'll get some runs from both teams in that one. Although Philadelphia has pretty much carried both games to an over by themselves so far. So, that's not out of the question again in that game, really. Although I don't think that's going to happen again. But I still think both teams are going to combine for some runs in that one this time. Houston at the A's in this awful AAA stadium. Houston put up a ton of runs yesterday. A's put up a ton of runs the game before that. We've seen a lot of runs come home in this series, but both games have been one-sided, with the A's winning 11-4 and then Houston winning 11-0 yesterday. So this is going to be the rubber match here. The bullpens, Houston actually does have a decent bullpen, it looks like, again. Actually, where are they at here? Yeah, Houston's actually had, this is offense. Houston's had the best offense in baseball so far, and the A's offense has actually really struggled. Although I think the A's offense is not that bad. Although to start the season, you got to admit they haven't been good. The Astros, their bullpen has been decent. Not great, but 13th so far in bullpen whip. I look at whip over ERA because I think ERA can be a bit more misleading. I think looking at how many guys you're putting on base is more indicative. Like, if you look at ERA, it would tell you that Anaheim's bullpen is actually one of the best. That's not true at all. And then the A's bullpen, we know that their bullpen's not good, so that's not shocking. They haven't been good this year either. Lance McCullers is pitching for Houston. He had a really good start in his opener against my Boston Red Sox. Went 7 innings, allowed 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 4 hits allowed. Maybe the Astros crowd will stop threatening his life and his family's life. Maybe he's pitching better, man. McCullers, he used to be a good pitcher, man. As I've always been saying, he just had some surgeries and whatever, and he hasn't really totally been able to come back from that. But he's had some really good starts still since coming back, and it's a good sign that he had a really, really dominant outing against the Red Sox. So maybe he is entering a new era, and maybe he is going to have a good season. I don't know yet. This ballpark is not going to be the best, though. But his numbers against the A's are okay. In 20 at-bats, 8 strikeouts, no walks, 250 average. 800 OPS is a little high, but it's because it's a small sample size. There are 3 doubles and a home run in there from Jacob Wilson. But I think McCullers might actually do okay here. He's going up against Jacob Lopez, who had a pretty good season last year for the A's. He's an interesting pitcher, man. He's kind of bizarre. Like, he does not throw hard, but he gets a lot of strikeouts with his, crazy movement on his off-speed stuff. But he was out of control in his first start. He wasn't that good against the Braves. He had 5 walks, no strikeouts in that outing. Only gave up 3 on runs, though, so it could have been a lot worse. But again, he put way too many guys on base. 6 hits also in 4 innings. So the fact that he gave up 11 base runners in that game means that he really got away with only allowing 3 on runs there. He should have allowed way more. But then again, we know that Lopez actually pitched pretty well last year. So that's the thing. Like, he wasn't that bad. So that one start, might have just been shaky because it was his first start of the season. His numbers against the Astros are actually good in 26 at-bats, 9-5 strikeout walk ratio, though. So, again, that is too many walks. But 154 average allowed, 444 OPS. Those are not bad numbers from Lopez. As crazy as it might seem, I think an under in the first 5 innings might be worth a look in this game. The money is indicating on the under, believe it or not. The total's at 10. And I don't want anything to do with the bullpen, especially with the A's bullpen. So I'm going to discard the bullpens here. 68% of tickets, 68% of tickets on the over, 76% of the cash on the under in this one. But I think both starting pitchers could potentially get you to an under here, and you'll probably be able to find about a 5 out there in the first 5 under. So that might be my opinion in this game, but it's definitely risky if you want to try to do that in a ballpark like this, and where you still don't totally know what you're going to get out of these starters here. Houston down from -121 to -117 on the money line, 87% of tickets, 94% of the cash on Houston. Really, really difficult to gauge the side here, man. I don't have a good opinion on the side in that game because, again, it's very difficult to predict the starting pitching and whatever. I do think Houston, at least for now, they do have the better offense, and I think their bullpen is better as well. So Houston does have some advantages in that game, but it is also kind of a bounce-back spot for the A's after they got obliterated yesterday. So it's very, very difficult to figure that game out. Bullpen usage, Houston only used 2 relief pitchers yesterday, so that's good. That's a relief for them. The A's bullpen used 4, so the Houston bullpen definitely has an advantage in that game as well, in my opinion. So do with that information what you want. Mets at San Francisco. I do kind of like this game. I do have an opinion on this game. Hasn't made my card, but the Mets are on the verge of a sweep here, and they have dominated the series. 19-3 combined score for the Mets there. Mets are good. There's no doubt about it. They might take San Francisco. Actually, the Mets lost the first game of the series. My mistake, 7-2. So they've dominated the last 2 games. So my mistake. It's a 4-game series. But still, after those 2 games, they might overlook San Francisco a little bit here. San Francisco, you're probably going to get a good effort out of them here after those 2 outings, after those 2 games. San Francisco, I think they do have the somewhat better bullpen here. They used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. The Mets did only use 1, though, and it was Tobias Myers, who's kind of an innings eater that they got from Milwaukee. So the Mets do have the more rested bullpen here. Looking at the bullpens to start the season, the Mets actually have been the better bullpen so far to start the season. I think their bullpen's not bad. So I don't know, man. I think overall, though, I think the Giants might have the better bullpen slightly, but right now the Mets have been the better bullpen, and they're more rested. So I guess you might have to tilt the scales to them a little bit there. The Mets, I do think they have the better offense. I think that's not in question. They're a top 10 offense OPS-wise to start the season. The Giants are bottom 2 with the Padres, which is pretty pathetic. Not that we expected the Giants to be good offensively, but I like the Giants in this game anyway, man. If you want to go first 5 innings, you could do that too. And if you're worried about the Giants bullpen a little bit, I think the Mets do have a little bit of a bullpen edge. But if you wanted to go Giants full game, I don't hate that either, because I think they're gonna really give you an effort to try to win this game and even up the series. Kodai Senga is pitching for the Mets, and I don't trust him. His whip last year was awful. He put way too many guys on base. He's been okay, though, over his career. He does strike out a lot of guys, but he is wild. He walks too many guys, and that's the problem. Same thing happened in his first outing, where he actually took a loss against St. Louis, but it wasn't really his fault because he got no run support. But he gave up 2 earned runs in 6 innings. He gave up 4 hits. None of that is bad at all. 9 strikeouts, really good, but he walked 3 guys. So, again, his walk numbers are bad, and his numbers are not good against the Giants in his career. In 39 at-bats, more walks than strikeouts. That's bad. 9 walks, 8 strikeouts. Matt Chapman has 2 home runs off him, and overall he's allowed a 282 average and 955 OPS to the Giants. So I don't trust Senga, and he doesn't match up well against the Giants. Logan Webb is pitching for the Giants, and I think people are going to look at Webb versus Senga here and see that the ERA is like way worse for Logan Webb so far this year, and the public is going to want to be on the Mets, especially after seeing what they did the last 2 games too. But I'm going to disagree with that, man. I mean, Logan Webb has been a staple of this Giants rotation here, and he's been particularly good at home while he's been, a Giants pitcher. So I'm not going to read much into these first 2 starts of the season, man. I don't think that they indicate that much. He's walked too many guys because in his last outing he had 4 walks against San Diego, but he did hold them to 3 earned runs and get a win in that outing. But Webb is like a grinder, dude. He's also one of the few guys out there who still gets you deep into games, which is another reason why I don't really hate the Giants full game here, because Webb is typically going to go at least 6 innings for you. Like the Giants, they let him go 100 pitches pretty consistently. They just let him go out there and throw, man. But overall, his numbers aren't really that bad this season. 12 strikeouts and 11 innings is pretty good. 5 walks is too many, I know, but that's because his last outing, he just had some control problems. But he really hasn't allowed that much by way of offense in these 2 outings. And his first start he gave up 6 earned runs against the Yankees, dude. The Yankees are a really good offense, and 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's still not that bad. And specifically against the Mets, he has been fairly good in 88 at-bats. Really good 21-3 strikeout walk ratio, 250 average allowed, 627 OPS. So I like Webb to have the upper hand here. I like the Giants in this game. Money is agreeing with me on this. The Giants did drop a little bit from -122 to -116. 62% of tickets, 90% of the cash on the Giants. I agree with that cash disparity there. I do like the Giants here. First 5 innings makes sense to me, like I said. Full game, you could go full game as well if you want to. I think first 5 innings might be slightly more advantageous for the Giants there, but, yeah, I mean, I just worry a little bit that the Mets might have a little bit of an advantage in the bullpen there right now. So first 5 innings, Giants is probably, I think, the best approach in that one. All right, Seattle at Anaheim. Seattle lost 1-0 yesterday. This has been a very low-scoring series, even though it's not in Seattle, so that's pretty weird to see the series being that low-scoring outside of Seattle's pitcher-friendly confines there. Maybe Seattle will bounce back from that ugly game yesterday. I think Seattle has the better offense and the better bullpen here, man. And they have a pretty rested bullpen. They really have not used their bullpen much at all throughout really the entire season. So I like how Seattle's bullpen sets up here. Anaheim used way more relief pitchers yesterday. They used 5 compared to Seattle's 1. So Seattle does have a pretty big bullpen edge, I think, in this game. Better bullpen and more rested. I'm going to give them the better offense here as well, even though they haven't really been great so far this season. They got Luis Castillo pitching. He is better at home, though, but basically all the Mariners pitchers are better at home. He pitched really well against the Yankees. We had a win on the under in that game on the show here. He went 6 shutout innings against the Yankees in his opener in there. In a win against, I think that was the Yankees' only loss on the season. He didn't get the win, but the Mariners got the win late in the game. But Castillo was good. He went 6 innings, 3 hits allowed, no runs, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. Now, I know he's going out on the road here. His numbers are decent against the Angels overall, 132 at-bats, so they've seen a lot of them. He has walked too many, though, 40 strikeouts and 17 walks. That is definitely too many walks, but a 212 average allowed, so they haven't been able to hit him particularly well. 711 OPS is a little bit high, but it's not, like, egregiously high. So, overall, I think Castillo matches up okay. He's going up against Ryan Johnson, who's a guy who we still don't really know much about. I don't think we can really predict Johnson very well here. He's only 23 years old. His start to his major league career has been kind of rocky, but he does have a lot of strikeouts. He's been wild. He's walked too many guys, but his strikeout number has been good. He's also allowed way too many hits, though. He's been way too hittable. So I don't know what we're going to get out of Johnson here, man. He had a rough opening start against the Cubs to start this season. Went 3 1/3, gave up 6 earned runs, 7 hits, 4 walks, only 2 strikeouts. None of that was good at all. His numbers against the Mariners, they've seen him 4 at-bats worth, and they have 3 hits off him. No strikeouts and 1 walk. So it's not a huge sample size, but he has not succeeded in a very limited sample size against them. So, I think the Mariners do have the upper hand in this game. I wouldn't disagree with the Mariners side here, but they're a bit heavily priced here, down from -170 to -164. 91% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the Mariners. So the money kind of agreeing on the Mariners here, but yeah, I don't know. It is a high price, and the total is pretty high at 9, which is interesting. I could see the argument for the total for going over because yesterday's game was so low scoring, but because you have Seattle with a pretty good pitcher on the mound and a very rested bullpen, I just don't really see it as far as that is concerned. The money is coming in on the over, though, for what that's worth. I don't really see it, though, so this game's a stay away. I mean, I do have a slight lean to Seattle in that game. If you wanted to go money line on it, I guess you could, but it's a pretty high price there. You could like make your own -1 run line, and at least you're getting 9 innings of at-bats guaranteed from Seattle. But I don't love it. Atlanta at Arizona. Atlanta lost to Arizona yesterday 2-1. I thought Atlanta would win the game. It was close. Atlanta's been good to start the season, man. They've been the best bullpen in baseball to start the season. Kind of surprising, man. And their offense has been good as well. Top 6. So they've actually been better in both aspects of the game over Arizona. Arizona's bullpen is terrible. We do know that. So Atlanta definitely has the better bullpen here. That's not in question. Arizona should still have a pretty good offense, though. So it's kind of shocking that Atlanta's been the better offense to start the season. Maybe that won't continue. Atlanta only used 1 relief pitcher yesterday for 7 pitches. So their bullpen is very intact. Arizona used 4. So Atlanta actually has a pretty huge bullpen edge in this game. So that is definitely something to take into account here. Martin Perez is going to be pitching for Atlanta here. You got to hand it to Perez, man. I mean, I haven't really been a fan of Perez, but, you know, at the age of 35, he's still going out there and pitching and being a serviceable pitcher out there. So you got to give him credit for that, I guess. He's never been great. He's always been, you know, a pitch-to-contact type of guy. Doesn't go out and blow guys away, but that's more helpful when you're up there in age because you don't rely on your velocity. You rely on your ability to locate. He had a decent outing. I think this might have been a bullpen outing. In his first outing against the A's here, he went 4 1/3, only gave up 2 hits, didn't allow any runs, 3 strikeouts, no walks. He was pretty good against the A's, and he was very efficient, only throwing 47 pitches. So Perez did look good in that outing against the A's. Against the Diamondbacks, he's got pretty good numbers against them in his career, 86 at-bats, 209 average, allowed 671 OPS. That's pretty good numbers. The only bad number in here is the strikeout-walk ratio, 13-11. But again, he doesn't strike out that many guys, although that is kind of a high walk number there. But other than that, his numbers are pretty decent against Arizona, although this is a hitter-friendly park here. He's going up against Brandon Pfaadt, who didn't have a good season last year, but with Pfaadt, he had an extreme home road disparity last year. He was really good at home, where he is tonight, or today. 3.24 ERA at home, 7.71 on the road. His numbers were just, it was probably the most extreme home road splits you'll ever see last year, which I don't even get it, man. I don't even understand how that happened. This year, he gave up 5 earned runs in a start at home to Detroit, but he wasn't really that bad in that outing. He only allowed 6 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, so he got a little bit unlucky that like most of the base runners that reached scored against him. Usually you don't see that many of the base runners score. Against the Braves, he doesn't have good numbers, though. It's 72 at-bats. 16-6 strikeout walk ratio is okay-ish, but 306 average, 831 OPS allowed. That's not good. So, yeah, I kind of look towards Atlanta in this one, man. I think all of those things combined, like I'd make it a full game lean if I wanted Atlanta here, though, because you want to include that big bullpen edge that I think they have. 80% of tickets and cash on Atlanta. They're at -106. I think people might not trust Martin Perez, although people might see that he has a 0 ERA and see that Pfaadt's is 7 and draw the wrong conclusions. So that might be the case as well. You know, I don't have a good opinion on the game, though, in general. And then I already talked about the Chicago Cubs and Cleveland doubleheader, so you can go check out what I said about that second game of the doubleheader there. But I like the first 5 under in that game generally. And then the final game, the Peacock Sunday night game. So we might be able to handicap the Sunday night games the same way going into Monday, you know, where I look to fade the teams that were involved in the Sunday night game. We have a stacked baseball card tomorrow, man, or board. I'm used to Monday having not many baseball games, but that's not the case tomorrow. So we'll look then after we see what happens tonight. But, you know, those teams on the quick turnaround time tend to be at a little bit of a disadvantage. So that's something to be aware of, that we still do have a Sunday night game. It's just on Peacock instead of ESPN now. It is St. Louis and Detroit. Now, I think Detroit is a significantly better team overall. Detroit is looking to get the sweep here. Now, because it is a home game on a big, like, televised, isolated game, I think that might keep Detroit from maybe overlooking St. Louis, but it is possible they do because they've dominated the series. They've won by a combined 15-6 over the 2 games in the series. Now, their next series is against Minnesota, so it is a divisional series. Maybe they're going to be looking ahead to that a little bit, although Minnesota's not having a good season and not expected to be good this year. So I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. As far as the bullpens, Detroit used a lot of relief pitchers yesterday. They used 5, so that is not helpful to them. I think St. Louis has the worst of the 2 bullpens, but they did only use 3 relievers yesterday. But still, I don't like St. Louis at all. So I still think Detroit might even have the better bullpen, even with a rest disadvantage, although I think neither bullpen has been that good so far. Detroit's actually been bottom 3rd so far, and St. Louis has been in the bottom 4 overall. So, yeah, Detroit does still have the better bullpen, though it's not a huge advantage, especially when they're at a bit of a rest disadvantage there. Hitting-wise, Detroit, I believe, has the better offense. I think St. Louis has been pretty bad. Where are they at here? St. Louis is in the bottom 3rd here. Where's Detroit at? Yeah, Detroit's in the top 3rd. So, yeah, Detroit, as expected, they have the better offense. But I think, that's going to bear itself out over the course of the season anyway. This is an ugly pitching matchup, though. Kyle Leahy is pitching for the Cardinals. I don't know what you're going to get out of him, man. He did make basically a full start in his first outing, 5 innings pitched against the Mets. Wasn't great. Gave up 4 earned runs, 1 strikeout, 2 walks. I mean, that was serviceable enough to keep his team in the game, though. So I guess give him credit for that. He didn't throw that many pitches, 79 pitches. So, he wasn't horrible. Against Detroit, they only have 9 at-bats against him. No strikeouts, no walks, 333 average, 889 OPS. So it's a limited sample size. They've been able to do some damage against him. We don't know how long he's going to last in this game, but we also don't know what Detroit is going to do with Keter Montero, who he was like kind of an opener last year sometimes, and sometimes he was coming out of the bullpen. He's just a guy that's kind of like last guy up in the rotation type of guy, you know what I mean? Like you need an arm just to throw in the rotation, to finish off the rotation. That's basically him. He's never been particularly impressive, although he is still young at 25, and he hasn't been horrific. Like his numbers are just all very mediocre for the most part. But, kind of consistent mediocrity from him. His numbers against St. Louis are not particularly good. In 15 at-bats, 333 average, allowed 878 OPS, 2-2 strikeout walk ratio here. The starting pitching is not great in this one, really, though. I would go over in this game, probably. I think both bullpens are kind of fadeable here as well, so I think over makes the most sense to me in that game. 74% of the tickets and 90% of the cash on the over there. Detroit is a public side for what that's worth. 78% of tickets, 69% of the cash on them, sitting at minus 135 on the money line. Do with that information what you want. So it looks like St. Louis appears to be the side that the market is indicating on right now, but my preference in that game would be over the total. All right, I'm going to come back, and then we're going to do the rest. We're going to do NHL. It's a small NHL board. It's a pretty big NBA board. I don't really have an opinion on on any of that. Actually, NHL is bigger than I thought. Although I already looked at all the games. I just don't love any of these games. And then we got to talk about college basketball. We have 2 championship games in college basketball. So I'm going to talk about those in a second when I get back. I'll be right back. It's going to be a long show here, man. All right, let's do this. We got I saw some of the college basketball highlights on there from that Michigan and Arizona game that might have been a bit of a letdown for people yesterday, although I need Michigan to win for my bracket, of course. So our bracket is still fairly intact with our champion now being a favorite in the championship game tomorrow night. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. I have my concerns about it, and I might give out a play in that game that is not going to be on the Michigan side. So, all right, let's talk about NHL here, man. We got a lot going on here. I'm going to close some of these tabs here, clean things up a little bit. We have some afternoon NHL. NHL coming towards the end of the season, man. It's crunch time. Minnesota at Detroit is the first game up in this TNT HBO Max True TV doubleheader here. Minnesota, I mean, they're more secure in their playoff spots. So that's kind of where I start this handicap. They're coming off a blowout win yesterday over Ottawa, so it's kind of a similar setup in this game to yesterday's game where I leaned towards Ottawa yesterday because Ottawa needed the game more. I think they were a bit of a home underdog there. Minnesota still just easily got through them, though. But now, after that, Minnesota, again, they really don't need this game. Detroit does. So, again, it's going to be a situation where the home underdog needs the game more. Detroit, I believe they're fighting for a playoff spot. They're not in the playoffs currently. They took a bad loss yesterday to the Rangers. Now, the problem with Detroit, I lean to Detroit in this game based on the motivation and the fact that you're getting a highly motivated team as a home underdog. But the problem is Detroit's returning home from a road trip. They've been on the road since March 31st, so not the longest road trip, but still, I mean, it worries me a little bit. But they've stayed kind of close in the area. They only went to Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and New York, so I'm not too worried about that. Both teams played yesterday. Still a situation where Detroit is playing a fourth game in 6 days, though, all in different cities, which is not that easy to do. So I'm not going to get there with this one, but I like Detroit in this one. That's the way I would play it if I was going to play this game. I would play Detroit on the money line. 54% of tickets, 60% of the cash on Detroit. Minnesota sitting at minus 126 on the money line. All right. Dirty Sock, what's up? Happy Easter. That's right. How could I forget? Yes. Happy Easter to all of you. Hopefully we don't take an egg as far as our two plays today, man. All right, we have Florida at Pittsburgh here. This is a weird matchup because Florida, they're pretty much eliminated, whatever. Pittsburgh is pretty safely in the playoffs, I would say, at this point, I believe. But Florida just lost 9-4 yesterday in this same matchup to Pittsburgh. So there could be room for a zigzag here, man. That was an ugly performance from Florida yesterday. You lose 9-4, man. I mean, you're going to probably want to bounce back and give a better effort in the next game. Pittsburgh might just look right past Florida after that, after such an easy win yesterday. They might just not take them seriously this time. Now, Pittsburgh doesn't have a big game on deck. It's only against New Jersey. So I would like it more if Pittsburgh had like a big look ahead or something, but I still would lean slightly to Florida here. They're about the same price that they were yesterday. I think Pittsburgh was about minus 240 yesterday. Pretty much the same here. It's at minus 232, up from minus 220. 89% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Pittsburgh. I would grab Florida on the puck line if I was going to do anything with that. Just grab Florida to keep this game close. That would be my only real way to look at that game, but I don't feel great about it either. So that's just my opinion on that one. Charles, what's up? Happy Easter to everybody. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Boston at Philadelphia, my Boston Bruins on TNT, HBO Max, True TV. Bruins, I'm worried, man. They might miss the playoffs. I mean, their stretch run here is very, very difficult. The Bruins needed to win last night, dude. Like, they had this game. The Bruins kind of dominated this game, dude, last night. A really tough game against Tampa Bay. The Bruins won 69% of the faceoffs. You never see that. And then usually when a team does that, you don't see them lose the game, but that's what happened. There was an empty net goal at the end. The Bruins are winning the game 1-0 into the third period. So yet again, the Bruins can't hold on to a lead against Toronto. And the game was really, really close, too. So now the Bruins are coming off of that. Yesterday, I don't like it at all. And they got Carolina on deck. This is bad, dude. And the Bruins are not a good road team. And, like, most of these remaining games are on the road. they're going to miss the playoffs, dude. This is really fucking bad. And Philadelphia is in the playoff hunt as well, so you know you're going to get a motivated Philadelphia team here. They're only coming back from playing at the Islanders, and they didn't play yesterday. So Philadelphia has a rest advantage because the Bruins played yesterday and have to travel. Philadelphia does not have to travel. Although Philadelphia is coming off a big win against the Islanders, that would be my one concern here. But everything else is pretty much indicating on Philadelphia in this one. And they're an anti-public favorite here as well. Down from minus 145 to minus 136. The public is pouring it in on the Bruins. 70% of the tickets, only 51% of the cash. Unfortunately, Philadelphia, they're the right side in this game, dude. Like, if I was going to play any of these hockey games today, it's probably this one. Philadelphia money line would be the way I would play that game. Bruins are fucked. Carolina at Ottawa. Carolina, I mean, they're pretty safe, but, you know, I guess you could argue they're trying to fight to get home ice throughout the playoffs, whatever. They just beat the Islanders yesterday. Now they're having a single game travel spot up to Ottawa. That's pretty bizarre. Going from, where do they play? Charlotte, and now they're going all the way up to Ottawa for a single game. That's definitely strange, so it's a pretty weird spot for Carolina. They're going to be running into an Ottawa team that is pretty desperate, in need of a win, and Ottawa's staying at home, and they've lost 4 of their last 5 games, losing yesterday to Minnesota. But Ottawa has the advantage because they're staying at home, and both teams played yesterday. Ottawa is going to be probably going all out to try to get this game because they're trying to make the playoffs. Carolina is already in pretty securely, so I like Ottawa in this game, man, and the money seems to agree with that too. Carolina, not that heavy a favorite, down to minus 122. It looks too easy to play Carolina and almost like a pick-the-winner price there. 69% of tickets, 60% of the cash on Carolina. I like Ottawa in that one. Actually, that one, you know, you could make the argument that one's better than the Philadelphia one. I don't know. Maybe Philadelphia's still a better side there, but both of those are pretty good. I haven't added them to my card, though. Am I being too selective here, man? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do like both of those. I'm kind of considering it. I guess I'll stay away, but, you know, I like both of those. I like Philadelphia and I like Ottawa. New Jersey and Montreal. New Jersey, I mean, they're just kind of playing out the stretch. Now, I think technically they could make the playoffs, and maybe they'll show up for a game against Montreal, especially because they just lost at home to Montreal. Although that was a close game yesterday in a shootout, so Montreal might take them more seriously because it was a close game. So which way is it going to go? I don't know. Is Montreal going to overlook them because they did go into New Jersey and beat them yesterday? Montreal's on this huge win streak. They're going to be in the playoffs. They do have Florida on deck, but at this point, I don't know if that's really that much of a look ahead. The biggest negative for Montreal, though, is they're returning home from a road trip. They've been on the road since March 28th, so I always talk about that. They went all the way down to Carolina, Tampa Bay, won every game on the road trip. And when teams return home from road trips, a lot of times they will overlook their opponent. They got to get back to home life, you know, whatever. It's definitely not a good spot for Montreal here, so I would lean to New Jersey. Also, you have the kind of zigzag component there probably, where Montreal just finished their road trip by winning at New Jersey. So I like New Jersey here. The money seems to agree. Montreal down to minus 145 on the money line from minus 155. 84% of tickets, 80% of the cash on Montreal. So the money indicating on New Jersey. I agree. I just wish Montreal had a bigger game on deck than Florida, which I just don't think is that big anymore at this point. So those are my thoughts on it. I have a lot of opinions on these hockey games, man. It's just that none of them really were good enough, I thought, you know, to totally actually make my card. ESPN's got a doubleheader at night here. Washington at New York, at the Rangers, I should say. Washington is still trying to make the playoffs, so they're coming off a big win yesterday over Buffalo. So they could be in a little bit of a letdown spot here after that, even though Washington needs to keep winning to try to make the playoffs. The Rangers are actually eliminated, and we know that the Rangers have sucked at home, but they've been a little bit better at home. Basically, since they've been eliminated, they've played better at home. They won at home yesterday against Detroit. Will that set up a letdown spot for them? I don't know. It's possible they look ahead because they got Buffalo, Dallas, Florida, maybe not so much, but then Tampa Bay to end the season, so most of those are pretty big games. Washington probably should give you a bigger effort here because, again, they're fighting for playoff positioning here, but it does mean the pressure is going to be on them. The money is coming in on Washington to some extent. Minus 113 is where they're at on the money line. 75% of tickets, 97% of the cash on Washington. God, this is not one of my stronger opinions. I mean, this game is a close call. I mean, I guess I'll slightly agree with Washington just because it's still kind of a pick the winner price, and you pretty much know you're getting an effort out of them, but I do worry about that potential letdown after their win yesterday. But they got to keep trying because they're trying to make a run to make the playoffs here at the end of the season. Yes, yeah, got to support the team. You said no painting my face, and as you can see, this is clearly not my face. The second game of the ESPN doubleheader is not a good one. St. Louis at Colorado. You got one team that's pretty much out of it and one team that's guaranteed to be in it. St. Louis just had a blowout win over Anaheim. They actually didn't play yesterday, but they're having to travel from Anaheim into elevation now. After a pretty good win, a satisfying upset win over Anaheim. Now, they're not going to overlook Colorado, and Colorado might not take this game that seriously, so that's the thing. Colorado also played yesterday in Dallas, so they're at a little bit of a disadvantage rest-wise because they had to play yesterday, and they're having to travel back from beating Dallas in a potential playoff preview there. Big win, so I don't love Colorado here. They might not take St. Louis totally seriously either, so I would lean to St. Louis in this game. The money is agreeing with that. Colorado down to minus 205. 73% of tickets on Colorado, 60% of the cash on St. Louis. So the money is in agreement with me on that. I feel like I'm seeing the hockey board well today, and yet I'm skipping the whole thing. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But my strongest would be Philadelphia, then Ottawa, probably, as far as those leans are concerned there. And then New Jersey, and then I don't even know. After that, it would be just, I don't even want to rank the other ones because I would pass on the rest of them. All right, NBA. We do have some afternoon NBA action. It's so hard to handicap these late season NBA games, man. So many of these games are just absolute shit. All the teams that are out of it are just not really giving them much effort at this point. Toronto at Boston. I mean, this is an interesting game, though, on NBA TV at 3:30 p.m. Toronto is trying to avoid the play-in, so they have something to play for here, man. And they're not going to overlook a game against Boston either. But Toronto does legitimately have something to play for. They just blew out Memphis on Friday, but they're not going to overlook Boston. The Celtics are pretty close to having the 2 seed wrapped up at this point. Not guaranteed yet, but they have a 2.5 game lead over the Knicks. They're going to have to beat the Knicks, though, when they play them. The Celtics coming off a blowout win over Milwaukee. Celtics are returning over from a road trip where they won the road trip. They took 3 out of 4 on the road trip. They went as far as Miami during the road trip. So they stayed in they didn't stay in the Eastern time zone either. They went to the Central time zone to play Milwaukee. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a great spot for the Celtics, man. They're returning home from a road trip. They did have to play a back-to-back during that road trip. So they're playing whatever this is, a 4th game in 6 days, I think, and a 5th game in 8 days, all in different cities. That's not great, so I do not like the spot for the Celtics here. Toronto, probably a bit more motivated. Toronto, one thing about them is they've been pretty good as a road underdog this season, and the money is bearing this out. Celtics are a 9.5-point favorite, but 85% of the tickets on them, only 63% of the cash on the Celtics. So the money is agreeing with the Raptors. I agree. I would take the points with Toronto. So my opinions are going against my Boston teams here, except I do have a slight lean towards the Red Sox today. But these other games I have stronger opinions on. I don't like the Bruins today, and I don't like the Celtics today. And this might be my strongest NBA opinion today as well. I like the Raptors plus the points there. It doesn't make my card, though. Washington at Brooklyn. This is a disgusting game. This game shouldn't even be played. Just give everybody a refund that has tickets to this game. Washington's lost 5 in a row. They just gave up 152 points to Miami yesterday. So they're on a back-to-back, having to travel up to Brooklyn from Miami. You could probably potentially see how Brooklyn actually score some points here. Brooklyn just gave up a lot of points against Atlanta. They didn't play yesterday, and they're staying at home. So the spot is, I guess, a little bit better for Brooklyn here for what that's worth. The money's coming in on the Wizards, though. The Brooklyn side's down from 4.5 to 3.5. 66% of tickets on them, 61% of the cash on the Wizards. I don't really agree with that. I mean, I think the Nets having rest and staying at home, I know it's factored into the line, but I'd probably lean that way. I wouldn't really disagree with an over in a game where teams are just playing out the stretch, and it could be a scrimmage, but then again, both teams might actually have reason to focus a little bit on defense because they both gave up so many points in their last game. Total is 230 and 68% of tickets on the over, 58% of the cash on the over. So the money is indicating on the under. I don't think I would want to do that, though. To me, you would think that the public would kind of lean under because it's like, well, you got two shitty teams. Like, where's the scoring going to come from, you know? But, yeah, I mean, games like that are just a pass for me, though. Phoenix at Chicago. Phoenix, they're still fighting to avoid the play-in over in the West, man. Phoenix, they do not want to fall into the play-in. They've lost 2 games in a row. They haven't been playing that well recently. They're going to try to salvage this last game of the road trip, I think, to even up the road trip. They do have rest after losing at Charlotte. They haven't played since Thursday, so they're rested. Possible look ahead, though, because they got a TV game against Houston when they get back home, but I don't know that they totally overlooked this game in this situation here. The Bulls look like they're just not even putting in effort at this point, man. They've given up 125 or more points in how many games in a row is this? We could go 124 or more in every game going all the way back to March 23rd. Bulls are just not playing defense. They just got killed by the Knicks, and it was a spot where the Knicks were not even in a good spot, and the Bulls took a 40-point loss in the game. So what are we even getting out of the Bulls at this point, man? If they won't even focus for a game against the Knicks, I don't know. They're back home here now. It's their second to last home game. I don't know if having a chance to play spoiler against a Western Conference team like the Suns, I don't know if that even really matters to the Bulls. The Suns are a 10-point favorite. Obviously, the Suns are the only one of these two teams that really has motivation here, but I wouldn't want to lay 10 points either, man. The Suns, they're a good covering team as an underdog. As a huge road favorite, probably not so much. 72% of tickets, 73% of the cash on the Suns, so maybe some money indicating on the Suns. I mean, I would probably actually lean towards the Suns in the game, but just because they're the only one of the two teams that has motivation. But I can't lay double digits like that, man. I'm not going to do that. Memphis at Milwaukee. This is another pretty atrocious game. Two teams that are not going to be anywhere near the playoffs here. Memphis has lost 3 in a row. They're just playing out the stretch now. You know, I don't know if they're going to be focused for this one weird single road game going to Milwaukee. And then they do have Cleveland and Denver up next. Cleveland tomorrow. Maybe that's a bigger game for them. I don't know. Milwaukee, I'm pretty sure they're not going to try to bring Giannis back. As I've been saying for a while, they're not going to. They just got blown out by the Celtics on Friday. They're staying at home at least, so I guess that's something for Milwaukee. So maybe they have an advantage in that respect. The money is indicating towards the Grizzlies, though. Bucks are a 6-point favorite, 67% of tickets on them, only 50% of the cash. I don't even know if I agree with the Grizzlies side in this one, and the money's coming in towards the under here as well. Don't really know if I agree with that either. Again, when you have two teams that are not playing for anything, usually the defense just doesn't have intensity. So, yeah, I don't have a good read on that game at all, though. That game is not going to be a game I would go anywhere near. Indiana at Cleveland. Indiana, they're playing out the stretch here. I mean, they've had a bad injury-hampered season here. I didn't think Indiana was as good as people thought they were last year, and they made that run to the finals. They should be a playoff team, though. Like, you know, you would think, like, next year after Indiana gets a good draft pick, you know, they're going to probably have Halliburton back next year. They still have this core of players. Zubac was a good pickup for them, who pretty much hasn't played for them this year. So Indiana, I think they're going to be a lot better next year than they are this year. Probably not as good as they were last year, but, you know, there'll be improvement for Indiana. But what are they going to do in this game against Cleveland? I don't know, man. They're coming off getting blown out in Charlotte on Friday. They might get up for a game against Cleveland. I mean, it is a big game. Cleveland is pretty close to being kind of locked in-ish to the 4 seed, I think, in the East, which I think is kind of what they want, because I think they'd rather face Detroit without Cunningham than have to deal with that would be a second round matchup rather than have to deal with the Celtics or the Knicks. Cleveland, coming off beating Golden State and returning home from a Pacific Coast trip, so it's not the greatest spot for Cleveland. It wasn't a long trip. It started on Monday, but they did go into elevation into Utah. They had to play the Lakers, and they beat Golden State, a very injured Golden State team. But returning home from a road trip from the Pacific Coast, again, it's not exactly the greatest spot. You have to get back to home life. I mean, you could potentially overlook your opponent here, so I would lean to Indiana in this game, plus all the points that they're getting. Cleveland's minus 15.5, down from 17.5, but looks like some of the money is coming in on the Cleveland side now. I would not agree with that. 72% of tickets, 91% of the cash on the Cavs. I disagree with that. I would take the points of the Pacers. So I got some disagreements with some of the market reads here, though. Although I agree with the market in the Raptors-Celtics game towards taking the points of the Raptors. But, yeah, I would take the points of the Pacers in that one. Charlotte at Minnesota. Charlotte is still, I think, trying to avoid the play-in, although I think at this point it looks pretty likely they're going to be in the play-in. But they've won 3 games in a row. I don't think they're going to overlook Minnesota, but they do have 3 huge games to finish the season: Boston, Detroit, New York. This is not an easy schedule, man. So I think Charlotte is probably not going to be able to make the top 6 there. I think they're going to be in the play-in because this is rough. 3 road games, 4 really difficult games in a row. Coming off beating Indiana, they're playing a 3rd game in 4 days now, 4th game in 6 days. That's not that easy to do. It's actually a 6th game in 9 days, I think is what this is, although a lot of the games are at home, but it's still a pretty packed schedule for them. Now, Minnesota looks like they're going to be without Anthony Edwards in this game. Minnesota is already safely in the playoffs, although it's kind of a matter of what seed are they going to get, but that's not really that much of a motivational factor. Although it looks like you're going to get potentially like a Minnesota-Denver 4-5 matchup. That would be pretty unfortunate because I think both those teams are a couple of the better teams in the Western Conference, and the fact that one of them might be gone right away is kind of ugly, but Minnesota, they're returning over from a road trip. That's not great. They went to Dallas, Detroit, Philadelphia. Kind of a short road trip, but still a road trip return nonetheless, where sometimes you kind of overlook your opponent. They have to go right back out on the road after this. So they're in one of those road trip sandwiches, which is not good, because you only have a little bit of time to get whatever done you have to get done when you're back at home. Go back out on the road. Got to see what the injury report looks like, though, because we don't know if Anthony Edwards is playing or not. Based on the line here, the fact that Charlotte is favored on the road, that would kind of indicate to me that Anthony Edwards is not going to be playing in this game. The fact that Charlotte is favored in a game at Minnesota just kind of seems insane to me. They flipped from a 1.5-point dog to a 2-point favorite. 57% of tickets on the Hornets. The Hornets are actually getting the public action in this game, probably because I guess everybody knows Edwards is hurt, but I don't know. 66% of the cash on the T-Wolves. I don't like either side here, man. I mean, the money is saying the T-Wolves. I think the Hornets shouldn't be a 2-point road favorite like this, even without Anthony Edwards in the lineup for the T-Wolves. But the T-Wolves are in a really difficult spot, so I can't do anything with the T-Wolves here either, man. This game is a complete stay away. I don't even want to offer an opinion on the game, really. The money is indicating on the T-Wolves. Do with that information what you want to. Orlando at New Orleans. Orlando just beat Dallas. Orlando looks like they're pretty much guaranteed to be in the play-ins in the East at this point. I don't think they're going to be able to get into the top 6 here. They do have a huge game against Detroit on deck, so it is possible they look past New Orleans here at this point. New Orleans is like the only eliminated team that's actually putting in effort. And I think part of the reason is because they don't have a first-round draft pick. They already traded that draft pick away. So they've actually been playing with effort. Like, even though they've lost 7 games in a row, they've actually been pretty competitive in a lot of those games. But they are returning home from playing on the Pacific Coast only for 2 games. But they're playing a 3rd game in 4 days, all in different cities. They just went out to the Pacific Coast. It's not exactly the greatest spot for New Orleans here. And they are facing an Orlando team that I guess might be motivated to try to get some wins, to try to maybe still make a shot at avoiding the play-in. But I still don't love the Magic in the spot either, though, man. The money is coming in on the Pelicans for what that's worth. The Magic are 4.5-point favorite, up from 3.5. 74% of tickets on Orlando, 61% of the cash on the Pelicans. Money is on the New Orleans side here. You know, I don't know, man. I'll give you, that's what the market read is saying in that game, and I don't really have a good opinion on this game one way or the other. I don't really want New Orleans returning from the Pacific Coast either, though, even though it was a short trip. Utah at Oklahoma City. Utah, the question is, are you going to get an effort out of them for once here? They've lost a bunch of games in a row. A lot of their guys aren't playing. They just got blown out in Houston. They've had a couple of games where they have played competitively, though. A couple of games against Denver where it looks like they actually kind of put in an effort. A game against Cleveland where they did. So will they show up against Oklahoma City? They might. Because, I mean, this is the best team in the league, so maybe you do get up to put in a good effort, put in a good performance against Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City's coming off some really satisfying wins against the Knicks, Detroit in overtime. They just blew out the Lakers. I mean, that has to be really satisfying to just demolish the Lakers to the point where half the Lakers team got injured in the game, too. That's going to make the Thunder look way too good, man. And they're actually in a Lakers sandwich because they have to play the Lakers again on Tuesday, although it'll be a very injury-depleted Laker team. I don't like Oklahoma City in the spot, though, man. I would take the points with Utah if I was going to do it. You're getting 24 points in this game. I think this is the biggest spread of the NBA season. With the Jazz. You're getting 24 points with the Jazz here. I would lean towards taking the points with the Jazz. 81% of tickets, 85% of the cash on the Thunder. They're going to be a public side, probably. They just looked way, way, way too good in that game. I mean, yes, they are better than the Lakers are. There's no question about that, but that's just a ridiculous massacre of a game that everybody kind of saw because it was on TV and whatever. Winning the game just very impressively by over 40 points. Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma City could just sleepwalk through this game. I know they're trying to hang on to the 1 seed here. San Antonio's only like 2 games behind them, but yeah, I mean, Oklahoma City obviously can win this game without covering as well, so I would lean towards the Jazz plus the points. We got an NBC Peacock doubleheader here as well, so Peacock fucking over Major League Baseball here, man, by having the Sunday night Major League Baseball game having to coincide with NBA, but maybe people won't watch these NBA games, man, especially this first game. Are people really going to watch, like, half of a Lakers team play against Dallas? I don't know, man. I mean, this is technically the Luka battle, but Luka's not going to be there. Dallas does have Cooper Flagg, so I guess that is something that maybe people want to see. But the Lakers coming off that absolute annihilation at the hands of Oklahoma City. Really, it should be a bounce-back spot for the Lakers, even though they might be looking ahead to Oklahoma City. The Lakers, we know they're going to be in the playoffs, and I think the Lakers are going to start getting focused on trying to get healthy here. But it looks like, so Luka got hurt. As we know, he had a hamstring injury, non-contact injury, which could be dangerous. He's out for an unknown amount of time right now. After that game against OKC, and Austin Reeves got hurt as well, and it looks like both of them are going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks, so they're going to miss the beginning of the playoffs as well, and then if the Lakers advance in the playoffs, then it looks like maybe they'll get those guys back. Things are not looking great for the Lakers here, man, but this is a huge injured player theory spot, so there is that, and they're coming off such an embarrassing loss that maybe you will get an effort out of the Lakers here, man. Like, I was thinking after all that happened, I was going to be looking towards maybe a play on the Lakers in their next game. Problem is, they got Oklahoma City again next. I just don't know, man, but you might get some value on the Lakers because everybody's going to overreact to the Lakers being just absolutely decimated all of a sudden with no Luka, no Reeves, coming off a blowout loss at the hands of Oklahoma City. But Dallas is not a good team. Although Dallas, you got to think they will get up for a game against LA, though, so that's kind of the other problem. Dallas is staying at home. They have lost 3 games in a row. This is a huge TV game, so they're probably going to show up against the Lakers, as injury depleted as the Lakers are. So I'm staying away from the game. But Lakers look like they were going to be 6.5, and then I think because of the additional Reeves news, now the Lakers are only a 2-point favorite. But maybe in a way it almost looks too easy to play the Lakers at this point. 55% of tickets on the Lakers, 69% of the cash on the Mavericks. So the money is indicating on the Mavericks. I mean, I still probably have a slight lean towards the Lakers in this game. If I'm being honest, I think that's probably a lot of value there with the Lakers basically just picking them to win the game. But I don't want to touch the game, man. I really don't. I thought that I might give out a play on the Lakers there, but the way that it sets up, I don't think so. Clippers at Sacramento. The Clippers are trying to avoid the play-in as well, though I think they're probably going to be locked into being in the play-ins at this point. Even though I think the Clippers are a fairly dangerous team. Like, I think we'll talk about it when the play-ins happen, but I think the Clippers should be one of the teams that will get out of the play-ins and get into one of the playoff spots. Clippers did just take a loss to San Antonio. They played well against San Antonio in 2 games recently, but they didn't have as good of a game. On Thursday, they got kind of blown out by San Antonio, losing by 19. Going out on the road here now, but they're staying in the state of California to play Sacramento. You might get an effort out of the Clippers here, man, even though it's easy to overlook Sacramento, but the Clippers do have a little bit to play for still. Sacramento just returned home from a road trip and still beat New Orleans, even though it was a bad spot returning home from a long road trip. I don't know how Sacramento won that game. Maybe they'll get up for a game against LA. Now they're back at home. They might put in a good performance against the Clippers, try to, play spoiler-ish, but you can't eliminate the Clippers from the play-ins at least, so I don't know. Clippers are laying 12.5 here, up from 11.5, 72% of tickets, 66% of the cash on the Clippers. Money kind of indicating towards taking the points of the Kings. Do with that information what you want. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the market read is saying to take the points of the Kings. I really don't have a strong opinion on it at all. Maybe it is too many points to lay with the Clippers, but I don't want anything to do with it. And then Houston at Golden State is the last game and NBC Peacock game of the night. Houston is they're really trying to avoid the play-ins at this point, man. They're trying to make sure they get one of these top 6 spots. As crazy as it sounds, because I do think Houston is one of the top 6 teams in the West. They're really good on defense. Kevin Durant kind of carrying them right now, though. Houston's won 5 games in a row, most of them against pretty weak teams, though. Now, they're going out on the road to face Golden State. I don't think they're going to overlook Golden State here, although Golden State is trying. Golden State, I don't really know what they have to play for here because they're not going to miss the play-ins, even though they have a horrible record. Golden State is going to be in the play-in, I think, at this one. I think they're almost guaranteed to be in basically that 10 spot. At this point, actually, let me look at I'm going to look at the standings here because I think Golden State might even be locked into it at this point. Let me see. Yeah, they are. Actually, Portland, Clippers, and Golden State are all locked into the play-ins now. Phoenix needs to try to get themselves out of the play-in at this point, but I think they're probably going to be into. They're 4 games behind Minnesota, so I think Phoenix is going to be stuck in the play-ins as well, which really sucks for them, but they definitely should get out of it. They're better than... dude, I think the Blazers suck, and I think the Warriors suck. So, I think Phoenix and the Clippers should get into the actual playoffs, but we'll see what happens. But, yeah, Golden State, they're locked in. I mean, they technically could somehow flip get ahead of the Clippers and get the home court in that first game, but I don't even think that's going to happen. So I don't know how much motivation Golden State's really going to have here. Golden State, they're coming off a close loss to Cleveland, so they just played a pretty good game against Cleveland. So they might be a little bit tired off of that game too, although they're staying at home and they have 2 days off, so that's at least a good thing for them. Now, the thing about Golden State is you got to pay attention to the injury news here because it looks like Curry might actually be back here. He's a game-time decision. He hasn't played since late January. If he comes back, I don't like Golden State. So I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if you listen to me, when a team's star player comes back in a game, especially when he's had a long absence, the team has to get used to him being back, and I think the line can kind of overreact to him being back, so you get value usually going against that team. And a lot of times he won't play his full complement of minutes, but the odds makers can't really know if that's going to be the case or not. And again, people will overreact, especially when it's a guy like Curry, who is the best team on the Warriors and one of the best teams, in the history of the league, So I think there is going to be an overreaction if he does come back. It's going to take a while for the Warriors to, I think, kind of adapt to him being back. He's going to have to take a little while to get back into full shape, you know what I mean? Because he hasn't played an actual full-speed game for a while. So I would wait on this game, and if it is announced that Curry is coming back, the line should drop on the Rockets towards the Warriors a bit, and then you'll get some value on the Rockets. And then I would probably look towards the Rockets in the game if that was going to be the case. Although right now it looks like the money's indicating on the Warriors. 77% of tickets, 71% of the cash on the Rockets. Rockets are a public side. They're a 4-point road favorite right now. But again, the way I would play it, I don't want the Warriors in this game. And I would wait, and if Curry is coming back, maybe you'll get some value playing the Rockets at closer to like a pick'em type of price there. So that's probably what I would do. That's going to do it for the NBA, man. I mean, I don't have a strong enough opinion really in the NBA. I think my strongest opinion is fading the Celtics, as bad as that is. And then we got college basketball. We have 2 championship games as a little bit of an appetizer before the actual championship game tomorrow. You get these 2 championship games here. These games have not been well attended, man, very unfortunately. These games in Las Vegas and the Crown, nobody's going to them, which you would think wouldn't be the case because people in Las Vegas, I mean, it's a betting town. You would think, hey, we have college basketball games with some decent college basketball programs coming in here. Like, you'd think that people would want to go to some of these games, but it's not happening. Anyway, in Las Vegas, in T-Mobile, which is, I believe, the same arena that the semifinals were at yesterday, Oklahoma, who got us the win yesterday against West Virginia, which was also a correct lean for me yesterday. That's the final in the Crown. So these teams are playing to get more NIL money here. It's an interesting game, I think, man. Both teams play slow, but you got West Virginia being the way better defense. So West Virginia is an even slower team than Oklahoma, and they have the better defense. Oklahoma has the way better offense, but you know what I always say? I like the better defense getting points, and that is what West Virginia is here, man. And I don't know like which team really had the more impressive performance yesterday. Both teams won by a similar amount and looked fairly good. Oklahoma beating Baylor might actually get more credit because Baylor has a lot of that weight behind their name. West Virginia, you know, they beat Creighton to end McDermott's tenure at Creighton. Not on the greatest note, but people might think that's less impressive because, you know, Creighton's a Big East team. And, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like people will be less impressed with that win. And the public hates West Virginia, dude. They just don't like teams that play real slow and ugly. So a lot of times you can get betting value on teams like that. I would lean towards taking the points with West Virginia in this one. It's not going to be a play for me, but you're getting 3.5 on them now. 68% of the tickets and only 64% of the cash on Oklahoma. I don't think either team has a crowd edge or whatever because the crowd is just not even showing up at all to these games. You know, the players are all used to playing in the arena at this point. The total is low at 138.5. I think the total might be a little bit correlated. Like, if you like West Virginia, you probably like a lower scoring game, and it's probably correlated to the under. Oklahoma's not a fast-paced team, but they do rely on getting a lot of offense. So if you like Oklahoma, they're probably going to need to score more points. Total at 138.5 here. So probably because I lean to West Virginia, I would probably lean to an under in this game slightly. Although I know both teams played yesterday, so I don't love playing an under when teams are on no rest and the offenses now got used to the sight lines or whatever, so I don't love that really. 89% of tickets and cash on the over, though, so the over looks like it's a pretty public lean there, if you want to call it that. But my preference is probably West Virginia plus the points in that one. And then we have the NIT final between Tulsa and Auburn. Interesting game, man. I mean, none of these teams that are left are actually bad, really. Like, Ken Pom has every one of these 4 teams, like, within the top 70 or so. I mean, Auburn is in the top 40. Auburn, they've shown up in this tournament, man. It looks like they're trying to prove something after they got left out of the tournament itself. And I know I only had one NIT play, I think, and I faded Auburn in their first game because that first game – usually that, you know, team like Auburn that's used to being in the tournament every time, it gets barely left out of the tournament. A lot of times they're disappointed. It was the little brother, big brother situation with South Alabama too. So I did give out a play in South Alabama. We got the cover with that one, but once Auburn got by that game, I think it was like, okay, let's just try to win this thing now. You know what I mean? Now, we're looking at this game being in Indianapolis. This is in Gainbridge Fieldhouse now, which I believe that is Butler's Stadium still, I think. Is it? I thought it was called Hinkle, though. Let me see. Is it the same arena or is it a different arena? Actually, you know what? Maybe it is a different arena this time. I don't know. Somebody could let me know about that because the semifinals were definitely played at Butler's Stadium, and I don't know if you would think it would be at the same stadium, but I don't know if it is. Is that an advantage to one team over the other? I don't know. I mean, I think Auburn just generally, I mean, they're a bigger name team, so Auburn probably will have better crowd support in this game. I don't think the crowd in these NIT games has been as bad as it has been in the Vegas Crown tournament here. For whatever reason, I think the NIT just kind of gets more, you know, like it has more respect because it's been a tournament for way longer. So it has that history behind it. Indiana's a very big basketball area. So I think there will be a bigger crowd at this game. Now, Tulsa, the one thing that Tulsa does is they jack up threes, and Auburn is not good at defending the threes. So that might be the one advantage Tulsa might have is the three-pointer, and they're going to need that because Auburn is the better team. Auburn is favored here, but they're only favored by 5. 75% of the tickets and 68% of the cash on Auburn. So the money is indicating against Auburn and towards taking the points with Tulsa. We do have a high total. It's down from minus 161 to minus 160. 69% of tickets on the over, 51% of the cash on the over. So the money's kind of indicating on the under. And, you know, there is the whole thing, yeah, championship games tend to go under, you know, that type of thing because teams go out and they focus on defense. But these two teams are more offensive teams, man. That's just what they are. They play better offense than defense. Both teams do. Now, Auburn, their one disadvantage here is they don't defend the three well. So if Tulsa's going to be able to do something in this game, they got to hit the three. But Auburn is the better team on both sides of the ball. Ken Palm's got, I mean, that's why they're favored. Ken Palm's got Auburn 37th, Tulsa 56th. Both teams are in the top 40 on offense, but Auburn's a top 10 offense, according to Ken Palm. Both teams are outside the top 100 on defense. Tulsa is worse on the defensive side as well. Tulsa is the luckier team, according to Ken Palm, significantly so. So Auburn, in his luck index, is almost 200 ranking spots higher. So if you want to look at, like, what have these teams done this season? Well, Auburn has underperformed and Tulsa's overperformed a bit. And both teams play somewhat faster, but Tulsa likes to play even faster than Auburn. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Tulsa, one of their best players, is still not playing, if I'm not mistaken. David Green, I think is who that is. Let me see. No, he is back, it looks like. He came back. So, yeah, my mistake. So he has been playing, I guess. Yeah, actually, yeah, I guess I thought he was out for some of these games in the conference tournament, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking, unless they have two guys named Green. But no, I think it was him because he has pretty good stats, so I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, man. So yeah, I got that wrong, I guess, but I thought that was the case, so never mind. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where my my mind was going there, man. But yeah, I mean, overall, Ken Palm is kind of indicating that Auburn should win this game. And we know Auburn faced a way more difficult schedule, though now with all the NIT games included and whatever, they're down to 12th in strength of schedule. But that's still really high compared to Tulsa, 123rd strength of schedule. Obviously, Auburn's the more battle-tested team playing in the SEC over the American. So that might be what gets Auburn over the hump and gets them the win in this game. I want to see Auburn win it just to piss off the people that love Miami, Ohio. Although then again, you know, Stephen Pearl, Bruce Pearl's son is, you know, Zionist. So, you know, I'm not allowed to say anything about it on you know, YouTube here on the show. But, you know, that makes me not love Auburn. But the money is saying to take the points with Tulsa. I'm not, like, totally bullish on that, though. Do with that information what you want. Maybe I will slightly lean that way, but do what you want with that information. I prefer the West Virginia side out of any of these games in these two basketball games, though. That's going to do it, man. And then we're going to talk about this Connecticut and Michigan game tomorrow. Michigan is a fairly heavy favorite, but, you know, maybe too heavy after what we saw yesterday. I don't know, but that's going to do it. My plays today one more time. Pittsburgh Pirates, Moneyline, and first 5 inning under in Reds Rangers. If you want to go full game under, you could do that as well. I don't hate it. I just am a little bit iffy on the bullpens, but the bullpens aren't in horrible shape in that game, and they're not horrendous bullpens. So either way you want to do it, I think that's all right. I found the better number for the first 5, though, so that's what I was going with. That's going to do it. Learn to Tone on Twitter. Learn to Tone on Instagram. Like, subscribe. Give me good replies on the channel here. Give me good reviews on Apple, Spotify. Listen over there. That helps me out as well. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. You can check that out as well. Patreon.com/LearnToToad to throw me some support there where I don't give enough content over there. I apologize, man. I really do. I got to figure something out there, and then Losercast will be back on Tuesday. That's going to do it. I appreciate it, guys. Let's have a good Sunday. Peace. Rio, what's up, man? I'll answer that question before I get out of here. What did you get cooked on? You didn't listen to me? I gave out a lean on Michigan in that game yesterday. I didn't expect it to be that much of a blowout, but Dusty May has been the better big game coach. Yeah, there is that. I thought Michigan had the coaching edge in that game. They probably won't in the final, though. Real Mandalorian, what's up, man? Are you Boba Fett? What's up, brother? I'm about to get out of here, man. But yes, dude, that sucks that you had a bad day yesterday, man. We had a good day on this show yesterday. We went 2-0. I was very selective with 1 win in baseball and 1 win in the college basketball crown. So there you go. Hopefully we can get wins today, man, with these baseball plays as well. So once again, if you missed it, Pirates Moneyline. First 5 inning under in Reds and Texas Rangers, although most of the books are screwing you. But like I said, I found that number at the good old M with the GM. That place was the one that gave me the good number on the first 5. Full game under makes sense to me in that game too, though. All right, that's going to do it. Let's have a good one. Peace, guys.